One, conflicting intel reports and spurious reporting on the Iranian bombing campaign reveals the presupposition, the bias, and the propaganda from mainstream media, called out aggressively by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Two, former Congressman Jamaal Bowman says that black Americans have higher rates of obesity and diabetes because of the strain and stress of being called directly and indirectly the N-word on a daily basis. We talk about it with the host of Fox and Friends Weekend, Rachel Campos-Duffy. Three, the NBA draft. Raise your flag. Flag Day. A new era in Dallas with Cooper Flagg. It is Will Kane Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. That's why you need to head over to Facebook and YouTube. Set yourself a reminder. Subscribe to the Will Kane Country page on YouTube. If you're listening on terrestrial radio, we hope you will always hang out with us. If you have a different commute that day, working from home, pop in the earbuds, subscribe at Spotify or on Apple. We got two-a-days, Dan. We got Tinfoil Pat. We've got the crew. And we've got a very special day. Flag Day. Raise the flag. I'm overtaken with how many different things I can say and work the word flag into in my future as we play Capture the Flag.
Nope.
A new flag raises over Dallas.
Absolutely not.
The new flag of the NBA. Cooper Flagg.
There we go.
I'm so pumped. It is a new era. Cooper Flagg, the number one overall draft pick in the NBA draft. Now a Dallas Maverick. A little bit later in the show, we're going to break down the NBA draft. There were some funny moments we want to share with you from the coverage last night on ESPN and ABC. And also, my old friend, my old co-host from Fox and Friends Weekend will join us, Rachel Campos-Duffy. Yesterday on the Will Kane Show, I invited in Democrat Congressman from Colorado, Jason Crow, to step into the arena. He came in with good spirits. We were going to talk about the bombing campaign on Iran and Israel. Was it a success? Was it constitutional? Was it just under the War Powers Act? Did it obliterate Iran's nuclear capabilities? More on the substance of that debate in just one moment. But I like to invite people of different points of view into the conversation. I like to have a back and forth. I like to think it's cordial, but also impassioned. And this is how it went with Congressman Jason Crow. That's really fair. And again, you're not going to find a lot of disagreement on that. But I'm trying to figure out why you're applying it to this particular issue. There's no call to invade Iran. There's no call from this president to get involved in another prolonged war in the Middle East.
Yep. And here's why. The president, any president, has the authority to defend America under Article 2 of the Constitution. Undoubtedly. Every president has actually used that authority. But there has to be an imminent risk against Americans or U.S. facilities. I have seen nothing in the last year that shows an imminent risk, which means you have to come to Congress. And why that's important is the reason I talked about before. We spent 20 years in war and wasted trillions of dollars because we stopped having the debate.
Bravo for the congressman suggesting that Democrat presidents and Republican presidents had, in fact, launched military campaigns short of going to Congress for a declaration of war, and none other more so than former President Barack Obama, who literally launched thousands and thousands of bombs on Syria, on Yemen, on Somalia, on numerous countries not covered by the 2003 authorization of military force. Of course, it wasn't just Obama. It was also Bill Clinton in Bosnia and in Kosovo. And really, we haven't seen a declaration of war since World War II. He indicted both Democrats and Republicans. But he's also wrong in his analysis of the application of the War Powers Act. The War Powers Resolution itself, very dubious constitutionally. But the president does have broad, fluid powers under Article 2 of the United States Constitution to launch military campaigns in defense of the United States of America. And it is a little bit of a silly argument that Iran developing a nuclear program with intercontinental ballistic missiles and constant chance of death to America, but more importantly, campaigns to kill American soldiers in theaters of war, and some intel suggesting an assassination on the attempt of the life of Donald Trump clearly qualifies under an imminent threat. My accusation for the congressman is not that he's not patriotic. He served this country in the military as an Army Ranger, but rather that he's partisan. And he's only doing this because the name in the White House is President Donald Trump. But I was more, for this moment, interested in your feedback, comments from the militia. I got quite a few, and I'm going to go through these tinfoil and two-a-days. I want you guys to kind of chime in as well, because I think it's fascinating. For just a moment, let's play meta. Let's kind of hit the clouds at 30,000 feet. Just see how people respond to differing points of view and disagreement. So first of all, Starfire08 says, darn good job, Will. You certainly put Jason in his place. Thank you for defending our country and standing up for a real Donald Trump. These Democrats forget Obama ordered airstrikes on Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan. Not a peep from the Democrats. So says Starfire08. Meanwhile, Fran Stark says, Will, we love you. But why didn't you tell Crow that the Bushes went to war with congressional approval? Clinton bombed Bosnia and went to war without congressional approval. Obama bombed and went to war with Libya without congressional approval. Why didn't they say anything about that? I think I did exactly that, Fran. I did bring up Clinton. I did bring up Obama. I did even have a full screen graphic in front of you to see exactly how much Obama had dropped in terms of thousands of bombs across the Middle East. Sometimes people don't hear. They don't see. I don't know.
I love the all caps.
It's interesting.
Like you're gonna listen more if it's in all caps.
Yelling at me. All caps, Fran.
You just got to give it up to the boomers.
Less yelling, more listening. Less yelling, more listening. I made those arguments. Lib292 says, Will, good job on your new show. I like your interviews. But Mia P. Null says, you need to start treating all Democrat politicians as hostile witnesses instead of sucking up to them.
Wow.
I don't think I'm sucking up to them.
Scathing.
Maybe cordiality reads as sucking up. I don't know. I think some people just want to see me let them speak 4 words, interrupt, be super tonally mean. I don't. It's not my style.
Like, you're wrong, here's why.
I'm gonna be real. Not just you're wrong, here's why. I actually think they want it to be, as this guy says, hostile. And I think you can be impassioned without being hostile. Ruby Tuesday says, Will, you were flaming hot today on your questions to Colorado Congressman Jason Crow. His answers couldn't hold a candle to your fire responses back to him. Dang, I'm proud of you. It's so wild how one person sees it as fiery and another person sees it as flaccid. Like Mark Impey, he says, you let that POS traitor play you like a violin.
Wow.
He owned you, and all you did was pleasure him orally. Weak. You never asked him about Obama's many war power moments. Utterly played you. Mark, I literally put on the screen visually how many times Obama. What's wrong with that face, Patrick? How hard he came at me? And
that was a
imagery
bit over the top.
I didn't need to. Yeah. Whoa.
This is what I get. This is the feeling that people have when it comes to these debates. I think there's a good chunk of the audience that simply does not want to hear what someone who has a disagreement has to say. And they can't hear my rebuttals, and they're yelling at me about how weak I am as I'm literally saying the things that they're mad at me for not saying. RPM says, Will, great job with Jason Crow on your show today. Nothing is more frustrating to see the host not ask the right questions. He didn't like what he heard. He didn't like what he saw. Who cares what he thinks? I support my president, not any Democrat. Sit back. We have this now. I think that part of that that's interesting is nothing is more frustrating than a host that doesn't ask the pointed or necessary questions. But you have to understand, I don't know how many people watched yesterday. I'll find out a little bit later this afternoon. On Tuesday, something like 2.4 million people watched The Will Kane Show. And that means there's 2.4 million different opinions on exactly what is the right question to ask and whether or not I can voice exactly in that moment what you are thinking. One Adam 12 says, great interview with that Democrat congressperson, Will. I won't go on to read the rest of that. Lonnie Luongo says, who was conducting this back and forth? Not the host. Lonnie doesn't think I was in control of the interview. And I wonder what that's about. I mean, I think I was in control of the conversation. Now, I do allow myself at times to be interrupted. I don't like the whole talk over each other game. And I'll let somebody make a point, and then I'll substantively respond. I don't remember, honestly, in my opinion, the last time I've lost control of an interview. I'm sure that it has happened where the other person has had control. And I will, as Joe Testor famously said, be a counterpuncher. I will listen to what they have to say and counterpunch. Some people see that as defense. Saul says, I applaud you for holding Jason Crow's feet to the fire, calling out Democratic hypocrisy when it comes to the president's war powers. Extremely laughable how they're up in arms right now because they're all afraid for their reelection chances. Clowns. But Rod says, why didn't you ask the congressman why Obama didn't get congressional approval? Come on, man. Did that not go out on some percentage of my broadcast? There's a lot of people asking why I didn't say something that I did say. Did TVs blink? Did that not reach certain markets?
Not for me.
My point about Obama. Sammy says, great show. You put that guy in his place. You are correct. We are not engaging in war. And C.G. Galloway says, you are an underappreciated talent. Mad respect.
I like the conversations
Finally,
you have.
Magamom says, why must you subject us to these leftist S-heads? I'm turning off notifications for your show, and I won't watch you sniff their butts for a effing interview. So, to each his own.
No butt sniffing, man. Stop butt sniffing.
To each his own. I guess everybody sees the same. I think that shows the power of perception, how everybody can see the same exact car crash and come away with a different impression of who was at fault in the incident. But we'll continue doing it. We will continue inviting in these congressmen. Not just because, as so many say, why do you give them a platform? You know, there's plenty of places they can go, CNN, MSNBC, because it needs to also be called to account. It needs to be confronted. It needs to be something where ideas are subjected to the light of debate. And if I lose, I lose. If I win, I win. But it's not performance. It's not scripted. It's not WWE. It's real. Let's get into the reality of Iran and Israel with story number 1. Jake Tapper on CNN, after this report by both the New York Times and CNN from the Defense Intelligence Agency that it was low confidence and leaked from an anonymous source, defended himself from what is now widely considered poor reporting. The CIA, the IAEA, and several other agencies have confirmed what the President and the Secretary of Defense have said, that Iran's nuclear capabilities have been set back by a matter of years. But Jake Tapper wants you to know that after years of simply listening to the President and his surrogates about his mental condition, now it is time to remember your journalistic credibility and, hey, ask some questions. Here's Jake Tapper.
Asking questions is literally our job. Demanding facts and answers, instead of just taking a president's word for it.
All right, taking a president's word for it. Meantime, the Secretary of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Raisin Kane, held a press conference this morning to talk about what actually happened in Iran. And with that, Hegseth took on the media. Hegseth took to his podium, and he had this to say about the reporting on this bombing.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented him isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
Man, that was sharp. Man, that was impassioned. He's exactly right in his analysis of the way the press and the media conducts its business. I've been in this for over a decade. I've been in over this for 15 years. And that's exactly right. You start with a presupposition. You start with a bias. You start with a feeling. I don't like Donald Trump. And then you get confirmation, a leaked, low confidence intel report designed to help you now attack something successful coming from Donald Trump. And then you report that half-truth as a certainty. And you're off and running now with your narrative. Failure by Donald Trump. Hegseth continued at the podium.
There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that?
I think he's actually being charitable by calling it irresponsible. Irresponsible suggests someone with good intentions who's not very good at their job, doesn't understand the weight of their responsibility. These people know exactly what they're doing. This is intentional. It's not simply bias. It's propaganda. And that's their role. That's how they see their job. Meanwhile, that story that Hegseth talks about of our heroes, it was laid out awesomely, like a scene out of Top Gun, which he said it was not, by Joint Chairman Dan Raisin Kane.
Crews that attacked Fordo were from the active duty Air Force and the Missouri Air National Guard. The crews ranked from captain to colonel, and most were graduates of the Air Force Weapons School headquartered at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. I will state for the record that there is no beach volleyball or football at the Air Force Weapons School.
He went on to describe that mission in detail. It was absolutely awesome. And the success of this mission has not just been recognized by the CIA and the IAEA. It has been recognized by not exactly friendly faces or friendly, familiar neighbors in NATO. Mark Rutte, the leader of NATO, sent a gushing series of texts to President Donald Trump. And in that, he referenced Donald Trump as daddy. Now, Donald Trump also was asked about this. This was yesterday. He was asked about being called daddy. For those of you watching on YouTube or Facebook, I want you to keep your eyes trained on Secretary of State Marco Rubio. For those of you listening on radio or Spotify or Apple, maybe you can hear what I think is notable in this clip.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No?
But he did
it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Do you regard your NATO allies, though, as kind of like children, and they're obviously listening to you?
Oh, daddy, you're my daddy. The funny thing about that clip to me, in that my humor always trends towards the less obvious. There's a reason I like The Big Lebowski more than Talladega Nights, is all the little subtleties in there. Of course, I love that Marco Rubio is absolutely, authentically cracking up in the background. That's not one of those, like, I'm laughing to sort of put an exclamation point on the moment. I'm laughing because I can't control it, and I think this is really funny. That's Rubio in that moment in the background. But equally funny to me is that Trump can sit in there and listen to it. This reporter in this accent that I don't know what it is, saying, leader of NATO calls you daddy, and Trump's pretty stoic. He's just listening to it, right? He doesn't start laughing until he gets to his part. the daddy, oh, call me daddy. He just listens to this serious conversation about a bombing campaign in Iran in front of the European press in the Netherlands. It does remind me of a story that I wish I could tell. I think I can tell. I don't know if I can tell. About the text I got from the President of the United States. Regardless, he's in the Netherlands, and they're talking about who's your daddy. Incredible. Let's run that by my old friend at Fox and Friends Weekend, Rachel Campos-Duffy, when we come back on Will Kane Country. Former Congressman Jamaal Bowman of New York seems to be fashioning a public image more suited for First Take on ESPN. Shocking that he actually held a seat in government. You got to hear what he said on CNN. It is Will Kane Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Hey, hit subscribe if you could at Apple or on Spotify, or set a reminder over on YouTube. So Jamaal Bowman, you're familiar with him, I hope, at this point. Here's a quick resume and reminder. Congressman, New York. Pulled the fire alarm in Congress. Denied he did so. Said he did not. Everybody had to vacate the building. Designed to delay a vote. Then security footage camera comes out and shows him, quite literally, pulling the fire alarm. Bashfully says, you got me. Front steps of the Capitol having massive debates with Congressman Byron Donalds about, I don't know, big, beautiful bill, but this is before the big, beautiful bill because he's now been ousted from Congress over whatever was coming up in Congress. Almost First Take style, going back and forth, yelling over each other. An absolute embarrassment when it comes to politics. Bouncing around on stages with AOC, trying to make politics some kind of, I don't know, performative rock star or hip-hop star status, has taken his roadshow now to CNN. And this is what he had to say last night in an impassioned debate, I guess, again, as though it's 2020, about the race problems of America.
I'm a black man in America. The reason why heart disease...
I'm white, I can't comment
Listen
on
to what I'm saying. The reason why heart disease and cancer and obesity and diabetes are bigger in the black community is because of the stress we carry from having to deal with being called the N-word directly or indirectly every day. If your colleagues would listen and try to learn and engage and grow and stop being so hateful, we could have a better country. Jamal. But unfortunately, we're still here.
Okay, the country's problem is that it is so hateful. It's just such a hateful country. And that the reason black people have higher rates of obesity and diabetes and cancer and heart disease is because of the stress and pressure of being called the N-word directly or indirectly on a daily basis. Let's see if any of that holds water. With the host of Fox and Friends Weekend and Fox Noticias, Rachel Campos-Duffy, who joins us now. What's up, Rachel?
Hey, Will, so great to be on with you. You know I love both your shows so much.
I know. I appreciate all the encouragement that you give me, and everyone should know that she does behind the scenes in text and on calls. It's a great feeling to have that kind of support from your old friends. I see you're at work. I see you're about to do Noticias at some point. I see you're, as usual, having trouble with your technology. Have you ever considered a full-time assistant just to help you with your technology?
So I've asked Fox for that. Like, actually, right now, there's some HR thing I have to fill out. And I'm literally like the only person in the building who hasn't done the thing. And they're calling everybody to get me to do it. And it's not that I don't want to do the stupid HR sexual harassment thing. It's just that I can't get on the computer. So somebody is calling me today to help me do my corporate duties of, I literally, I think I'm the only person in the building who hasn't done it. And it's a tech issue.
Well, I can confirm, I can assure you and confirm for you that you are not. We have the same problems, just for different reasons. I got the text yesterday coming from my agent. Hey, you need to do your training and it's got to be done in the next couple of days. And I'm like, since when are you my HR representative? This was an odd one for me. Like, I got to get this done ASAP.
I do too, but you know what? They're lying because they told me that I was the only one. But now it turns out also you had not done it. So the threats are empty.
My problem Yours is you can't literally use a computer. My problem is I'm just hard to get a hold of. I don't see emails and reminders. I don't see things to say, hey, you're way tardy on this. So get on it. You may have seen the clip of Jamaal Bowman last night on CNN talking about the problems of Black America. Okay. And the reason why is because of the stress of being called the N-word directly or indirectly. And I don't even know what that means indirectly, by the way, but that's literally led to obesity, Rachel.
Yeah, well, I have so many things to say on this. So let me first start with this. Jamaal Bowman, you are not fat because of Donald Trump or white people or Republicans. You are fat because you eat poorly. And I'm going to give him this because he went right to race. And this is a Maha problem. It's not race, it's class. It is very difficult for people to get good food. And one thing is true. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans have higher rates of obesity and diabetes and all these chronic diseases. And I contend that it is because our system has made good food expensive and natural food, meat, grains, fruit, vegetables, more expensive. We make it more difficult for small farmers to have, we basically prioritize or give deference and favor to big industrial farms who then put pesticides and all this stuff. So he could get me on the Maha argument, and we can talk about this as a class issue and why is it so difficult for poor people to eat better, and why do we give them really bad information like Lucky Charms is better than meat and eggs. He's got me there. But this idea that he senses that white people want to call him the N-word and that's why he's fat. No. And he is fat. He needs to lose weight.
Well, and so you're very charitable. I think you're right, but charitable about the Maha movement and the cost of good food. But Jamaal Bowman's not poor. So his problem is discipline. Put down the donut, right, Jamal. It's not racism. It's the donut. Why you're fat.
Correct.
I think that also there's another point to be made as well, Rachel, that people like Jamaal Bowman, and this is why I don't feel bad about making fun of him and saying these things, is because he's actually doing more damage to the black community than he's actually doing any kind of help. Right. Like this kind of stuff is what is holding any type of disparities, or it's reinforcing any type of disparities. It's driving people further apart. It's creating barriers to true equality because you have vested people with vested interest in getting rich off of division. And make no mistake, there has been a long lineage of that when it comes to black leaders. Not all, but a lot who have literally been in the grievous industry, and it puts themselves out of business if you actually move forward with progress. And Jamaal Bowman now finds himself in that same exact profession. So he actually is a very big part of the problem holding back or keeping us from true equality when it comes to race.
100%. But by the way, let's also remind people that Jamaal Bowman is the guy who said that he pulled the fire alarm and during all that stuff and lied about it. He's a former school teacher. But let's get back to what you're saying, because I think it's really important. So Donald Trump hired a Democrat to deal with our food and health problems. And I believe the right thing is for people who have been, are on food stamps and are getting, really bad food because they are dependent on the government for a lot of their food subsistence, grocery bills and all this sort of thing. They have a friend in a Democrat hired by the Trump administration to clean up SNAP, to clean up our food, to make sure there are more, that you can use your food stamps at a farmer's market. That's what RFK Jr. wants to do. But Jamaal Bowman, as you just pointed out, he's like, no, we can't get them talking about food. We got to get them back on race. We got to get them back on race. We got to get them talking about that. So see, you get my tech. I got all excited and my phone fell off. But that's what's happening in America. And you're right. Jamaal Bowman is part of the grievance, group there that benefits from this, that has a job because he's pushing race hoaxes, and he doesn't want the people in his constituency to start talking about real stuff, about the real issues that are facing America, which are class issues, not race issues.
Gosh, I was afraid you got attacked in your office just now. Is your phone propped up like precariously on some stack of books? Yeah, and you got to wave in your hands and knock down your camera. Okay. I want to ask you more about Democrats. I think there's a fascinating discussion to have, but let's take a moment here because one of my very good friends in the world, you're capable of doing this, and we should do it together. I know you can't see this played back, but if you've been watching the Fox News channel, Rachel, you've seen this. I don't know what we're going to call it, but it is an advertisement for the Will Kane Show. One man, two hats. Okay, let's watch what's currently airing. And I'm getting a lot of messages on. I see your messages. Here we go. All right, go ahead.
Will Kane. One guy, two hats. All heart.
Today, we keep Washington honest from the middle of America. This is a place where we dig deeper. I want to know the real story.
Watch and listen to the real deal.
The heart of the matter from the heart of America.
Watch The Will Kane Show live from Texas, weekdays at 4 on the Fox News Channel. And listen anytime to Will Kane Country.
There it is. Okay. I know you probably didn't have success in hearing or seeing that, Rachel, but again, you may have seen it because it's airing. But I'm getting a lot of messages. Will, all I can think of is all hat, no cattle. All I can think of is, what are you doing with your feet on the desk? What are you doing wearing dress shoes with a cowboy hat? And I just watched it back 2 days. It's not that bad as it was in my head. It's actually all right. It's okay. Please. Right, Rachel?
I couldn't see it. I wish I had. I caught the tail end of it. You're explaining it to me right now. Here's what I think. You are Texas. So if anyone's ever trying to say that you're faking this, it's BS. I was on the couch with you for I don't know how many years, and I know how much you love Texas. I know you're Texas. You're so Texas that I've told you 1,000 times you should run for governor of Texas at some point. You are Texas. Don't listen to the haters, Will.
Well, a couple things. First, my brother the other day said, my nephew saw it on TV and said, "Oh, cringe." And then my brother said, "Well, you don't want to be fake cowboy now, Will." And so, but to your point of governor,
fake about you. Don't worry about it.
I'm about to live up to all your stereotypes, Rachel. Or I'm thinking about a country club, I don't even play golf. So now I'm actually going to be country club like you accused me of being, while you have been dutifully paying your country club dues for years.
Yeah, well, I consider that part of my American dream story. So I didn't start off.
What a spin! What a spin!
I didn't start
the
off
minute I try to call
like
Rachel out, the minute I call Rachel out on her elitism and my comparative populism, she says, "Well, it's part of my American dream story." It's such a good spin. All right, back to the Democrats here for a moment, Rachel. So I'm fascinated by this. Okay, I'm fascinated by Zohran Mamdani winning the Democratic nomination for mayor in New York. Now, I'm out. I don't care. I live in Texas again. I don't worry about New York quite as much. But, man, I do think it's really fascinating about the future of the Democrat Party. And I want you to hear me out here for a second. On one hand, it's awful for them. Chuck Schumer and Bill Clinton have come out and endorsed Mamdani. And that suggests his socialism and far left policies are going to become more mainstream on the left. And you could see people like AOC becoming their representative on a national stage. And in my mind, there's a lot of conversations to take with that, like, oh my God, it's such a threat to our country. I actually think it's going to relegate them to permanent minority status. I don't think the country goes that way and follows them. But I'm going to just offer you this one other perspective. This dude did walk the streets. He is a populist socialist, but he did hear what people in New York had to say, and some of them what they wanted. And he's like the kid running for student council. It says, "Hey, Coke machine in the Commons." He's like, "Oh, you want $8 chicken and rice? That's what I'm going to do as mayor." So on one hand, I think we can dismiss him. On the other hand, you got to take this guy seriously in New York.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So first of all, I've said from the beginning, when Donald Trump won, the only response left for the Democrats is socialist populism. I knew it was going to go in that direction because that's who AOC is. And for whatever people say about her, she is authentic. She believes this stuff. She's not a faker. She's like Bernie. She believes it. And that's the sense I get from this guy. There's something very authentic about him. He grasps the issue. I don't think he has the answers to them. I think he's going to make the city worse, but he understands what the problems are, and he's speaking to the people. He's articulate. He's handsome. He's passionate. So yeah, I think this is the threat. And I've said from the get-go, when AOC was elected and everyone was laughing, but she took the socialist mask off of the party, because the party always was that. They just were covering it up and acting like they were a little more mainstream. But once she took that off and she became such a smart, savvy, street smart social media person, this was going to have an impact. And it is on the left. I think it alienates a lot of people. And I think the success of Donald Trump, who is a very unique figure, will be a phenomenal, counter to that. I don't think it's going to overcome the success that this administration is going to have at the end of 4 years, and they'll have something to show for what they've done and what they believe. But I think that this is powerful. This is also about it's a socialism story, and it's also an immigration story. So you can see lots of pockets in the United States, whether it's Minneapolis or New York, when you bring in a lot of people, and they have different ideas, and they're not rooted in the traditional sort of constitutional America that you and I love and were schooled in. And when our schools are little Marxist indoctrination camps, when they're just Democrat camps, socialist camp instead of schools, you are going to have a situation with immigration and also with the schools that you're just going to lose control of. You can literally just replace voters. In the immigration sense, they're not getting assimilated. They don't understand our Constitution. They don't understand what we believe in. And then in the schools, even the good immigrants that come in and put their kids in these schools and who love America, we're losing the kids because the unions own these schools, and the unions have used our schools as a way to get little activists. So there's a lot going on there. New York will change forever because of this guy if he wins.
I want to follow up on two of your angles. One, you think he's good looking? Like you put him. I mean, if I counted on my hand the people that you've complimented physically, it would include Gavin Newsom. Who else were you big on? There's been a couple females you've thrown in there on numerous occasions. To be fair, no, you have not said that on a consistent basis on Fox and Friends over the year.
I'm going to call BS on that. we put Sean Duffy on when he had his flight suit on. He looked like he was Top Gun. We've done lumberjack things with Sean Duffy. I mean,
you always bring up the lumberjacking. Man, whatever Sean did that day when he was dating you, and you have said that it was a slow boil for you on your first couple of dates with Sean. But the minute he took you out to watch him lumberjacking, he clearly got you that day. I mean, you have brought that up so many times. I mean, you must be just doe-eyed looking at him when he does his tree climbing.
No, it's very sexy. It's very dangerous. It's a dangerous sport. It's kind of like the bull riding of lumberjack sports. It's the most dangerous of all the competitions, and it's very sexy. So yes,
told Sean.
I think that
I told Sean.
Back to the Mayor.
The New York Times.
He is a good looking guy. He is very clearly smart, clearly comes across well, and I think that's part of the package that he's bringing forward.
I want you 2 days when Rachel leaves. Let's pull up a picture of Mamdani, see if we can get it, and see if we would classify him as good looking. So the other angle is more serious, and that's the immigration story. And by the way, I told Rachel this the other day. The New York Times hit piece on the Duffy family using their children as political flags. Just found the most flattering picture of Sean I could ever think of. I mean, it was during his Real World days, I think, and I'm like, wow, I don't remember him on the Real World back in the day, but dang. I mean, we're talking movie star good looks there for Duffy back in the Real World.
Are you
days.
mocking him?
And not that he's not good looking now. Huh?
Is that a mockery? Like, I don't think his Real World pictures were that amazing that they put up there.
Zero mockery. Yeah. You have to go look at the New York Times picture they picked of him. It's
I didn't
really
look at the New York
flattering.
Times. That story was written by an abortion reporter who hates families, who hates kids. what's remarkable is she went, she's been on the beat of this story for months, like 4 or 5 months, calling childhood friends, high school friends, college friends, real world friends, people in Congress, people in our building at Fox. She's been calling everywhere. And all she could come up with is that we made pancakes on Fox and Friends, and our kids looked uncomfortable on TV. Well, yeah, a lot of people who aren't on TV a lot look uncomfortable on TV.
Wait, Rachel, I didn't read the piece. So I only saw the headline, and the implication was that you and Sean use your kids as political tools. Was that the purpose of the piece? I really, honestly, and I'm not mocking, only saw the pictures.
It was the
and I was
purpose
like,
of the piece.
Great picture, Sean.
The impetus of the piece, and I believe that this is the beginning of a series that she's going to do on all of the members of the cabinet and administration, the top members in cabinet. She's going to do this kind of profile on all of them. And she's trying to relate. She's trying to cosplay as a family reporter, family policy reporter. So Sean, when he came out as transportation secretary, one of the things that he put out, one of the policies he put out is that he's going to look at birth rates in communities as one of the factors that he thinks about as he thinks about allocating money to different communities. And she said in the piece that her and other Democrats and liberals and progressives find this to be dystopian and sort of Handmaid's Tale kind of stuff. So she was trying to look, there's an attack that's used against Republicans, and we saw it first used with Mitt Romney. So it's weird. They use the attack weird. They want to make you look weird. So they did that with Mitt Romney. He had a lot of kids, and that's weird. And they're Mormon, and they're weird. And then they tried that with J.D. Vance. And so they're trying to do that on Sean as well. And I'm sure they're going to do it to all the other, members of the cabinet.
I can already imagine.
Profiles. But
they've already done it.
This is somebody
she's an abortion
reporter. She was a reproductive health reporter for the Washington Post. And so she really actually doesn't like families, and she definitely doesn't like that, we had a non-eco-friendly number of children, and so that's her beef.
Okay, so finally back to this Mamdani thing and the immigration angle, which is interesting and important to revisit. You talk about people that come to this country that don't buy in, right, to whatever it is they need to buy into to continue the preservation of the American experiment.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it when I was listening to you talk, and I'm not robbing all immigrants, and now I'm actually speaking about legal immigrants. I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about legal immigrants. And I'm not robbing them all because a lot of people do actually understand more about the American experiment than even people that are born here, because they have to pass a civics test and so forth. And a lot of people that are born here take all that stuff for granted. Still, it requires us to vet people, not just for their safety and their criminal record and these types of things, but the culture angle that you're bringing up is so important because, the pull of America for most people is a combination of the loose concept of freedom and the prospect of economic gain and advantage to better yourself. And that's true, but that's not enough. You also, and by the way, those also aren't universal anymore. If you've got a guy like Mamdani, he's not buying into the better yourself argument. He's not buying into the pull yourself up by the bootstraps, the risk-taking entrepreneur. When I lived in New York, I was surrounded by immigrants from Africa who were driving taxis and Ubers who were trying to find a better life for themselves. They're not the socialist type, right? So those kind of run counter to one another. But you also have to buy in deeper, I think. You have to buy into the foundational elements of Western civilization, which does require acknowledgement of, Judeo-Christian values, true natural rights, the role of God, because it's actually literally written into our founding documents, all of these things. You have to buy in to what America is, and it's not just get rich and do what you want living under the banner of freedom.
Yeah, so I am the daughter of an immigrant. My mom married my dad, who was in the military, and she wanted to become an American citizen. She went through a process, and that process means something. It really is part of assimilation. My mother is the most patriotic American you'll ever meet. And that process was part of it. But we've let millions and millions of people come
and
through
Rachel,
here.
Your mom's from Spain, right?
My mom's from Spain. My father's parents are immigrants from Mexico. And so
your grandparents on your father's side are Mexican immigrants.
Yes, my grandparents are Mexican immigrants. My mother is, I'm first generation on my mom's side. So my mom married a military. You know what's interesting? Well, when my mother decided when I was in kindergarten that she was going to become an American citizen, first of all, she taught herself English. She taught herself English because she knew that in America, English was the language of opportunity. And in the 70s, when they were experimenting with the education system, that's when they introduced bilingual education. And they tried to pull some of us out of classes, my brother in particular. They tried to pull my brothers out of classes and into this bilingual thing. And they found out, my mom found out that they weren't in their main classes. They were being pulled out for some bilingual thing. And my mom went down with her thick Spanish accent and was like, listen, you want to talk to somebody with an accent, you talk to me, but my kids are American and they're going to learn English and they're going to succeed in this country. And that was how she felt about America. She loves American traditions. She loves Thanksgiving. She loves all these things about America, and she loves the land. She loves the people. And there's a reason why, because she had to sacrifice to become an American citizen. She had to do something. She had to learn the history. She had to learn the language. She had to do stuff to become one of us. And I think that process has been totally broken down. And in fact, now I guarantee that if you went to one of these naturalization, I'm sure they talk crap about America, because that's just how these things go. But our schools definitely do. Our schools want to tear down our traditions. Our schools want to, rewrite history, and paint us in the worst light possible as Americans. And so this is the kind of soup that so many people in New York City live in, because those schools are completely taken over by Marxists, by cultural Marxists, by people who don't like America. And so this is what you get. You get people who think socialism is just as good as any other form of government, and they prefer it. And you're going to see New York City, you think it's bad. I mean, you and I have seen it deteriorate over the last 10 years. Oh my God, if this guy gets elected, just wait. There's going to be everybody
It'll be real
decent
bad
and good is going to leave.
No doubt. I actually, because I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. I at first go, oh my gosh, I'll think about all these businesses are going to move to Texas. We're about to launch the Texas Stock Exchange to compete with the New York Stock Exchange. But then the realist part of me is like, but I don't know if I want all those people to move to Texas. Yeah. I love the economy and the jobs, but I want them to not bring their New York voting and culture down here. Because you got to buy into where you go, the culture thing. And just real quick on the buy-in, reverse it. Just reverse it. If you or I moved to Spain, didn't learn Spanish, but even more than that, demanded to be taught in English, but even more than that, didn't buy into the whole Spanish experiment, their culture, their history, how would we be treated in that country? Like, what would we be received as? We'd be seen as ungrateful. We'd be seen as, somebody that doesn't belong, not a true member of the society. All of these things, right? Which, by the way, if we're being honest, I don't think I could do that in Spain anyway. I could go over there, I could buy in, I could learn the language, I could do that, and they still wouldn't regard me as Spanish. But they would certainly demand more than what we're demanding.
Yeah, we had a system. We assimilated people. We turned it into a bad word. We said diversity is our strength. We said we don't like the melting pot. We're going to do the salad bowl instead of the melting pot. And we did all kinds of stuff to make race really important, and values, ideas, and a land and a people and a culture and a tradition that actually could unite us. We've allowed a really vocal small minority to tear that apart. And I think that is this is the work moving forward. And I think Donald Trump is doing an amazing job of this, actually. This whole, as soon as he got elected, what did he do, Will? He said, we're going to celebrate 250 years of the United States of America. And he actually commanded that every single department has to do something to celebrate 250. And so I'm intimately aware of what my husband is doing in the Department of Transportation, and he is doing the Return to the Grid American Road Trip. And the motto is, to love America, you got to see America. And I think that's part of it. I think we all should be, a lot of people like to go abroad and go here, go there. We're the most amazing country in the world. Put your kids in a car, take away their phones, and go see America. That's how you start to love America.
Love it. Rachel Campos-Duffy, check her out on Fox Noticias. It's every day. She's on 3 days a week. She's on every weekend on Fox and Friends weekend. Miss you. Thank you.
I miss you too, Will. Take care. Great show.
Okay. There she goes, Rachel Campos-Duffy. Hey, the Willicious chiming in. Suzanne, we know Suzanne, longtime watcher of the show. And the commercial gives me the Bachelor vibes, LOL. It does. It does. It's like I'm about to get
I agree with that.
Panel. How many, is it 12 ladies? You've got to be a Bachelor guy 2 days. How many, if I was the Bachelor, how many girls do I get to pick from?
I think it's like 30. I was almost on The Bachelor, by the way.
The pool? Of course you were. You were almost on The Bachelor?
Yeah, because Chris Hayes, the old host who got canceled, was a friend of my old show, and it was joked around that I should be put on that show. And I was like 25.
So you're talking about the Dan Patrick Show?
Yeah, Dan Patrick Show, yeah. So he would come on. And
because you were on the Dan Patrick Show, you got on American Idol.
Yeah.
And
no, because I'm talented.
Also, your buddy was on American Idol. And you almost got on The Bachelor?
Yeah. I was just kind of like the test puppy around there for different
they were just
things.
Running you out for reality shows?
Yeah.
You know what? Now you're married.
Yeah.
And now you're on Will Kane country.
That's right.
Maybe we can get you on Temptation Island.
If my wife is listening, this is not happening.
We'll take you. And your wife has to go too. And
oh, Jesus.
We'll test your marriage at Temptation Island. That will be incredible.
Good content. It's just for content. But yeah, there's about I think there's 30 women that come on The Bachelor.
The Bachelor, is that all people that want to be famous? So if you gave people...
All the shows are. Love Island.
Do you believe in love? Do y'all believe in soulmates and all that kind of thing? I don't.
No.
Gosh, my wife will probably hate me for saying that, but I don't think she will.
Sleeping on the couch, bud.
No, I believe that marriage is soulmate makes it too Disney-fied. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that leaves a lot of people out there single for too long, thinking that there's some perfect person for them and not putting the work into great relationships.
Amen.
Because it's not perfect out of the gate or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You're spot on.
Soulmate's about passion or lust and a lot of these things. I think it's built upon those things. The point I'm getting at is honestly, I think if you took most people and you said, here's a pool of 30 people and you're going to spend some time with all of them, there's somebody in there for you to build a great life together with. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Probably true for all of us. And that's not to say that what you don't have is special, because what you have, you built. That's the thing that makes it special. What you built together, this life, this marriage, this companionship, this love, right? And that's why, honestly, I think that's what infidelity and leaving and, okay, there's a lot of things that go into that. Your covenant in front of God, your covenant and your promise to one another, but also because you understand the difference between infatuation and something you built, you don't destroy what you've built because it doesn't feel right now. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I think that's an extension of the soulmate kind of view of this. But where I started this little unplanned philosophical dive into the nature of marriage is if all 30 of those people, bachelor, bachelorette, men, women, are all just fame seekers and want to be reality stars, well, then maybe there's not somebody in that pool of 30 for you to build a life with. I just don't know. And maybe they're all like that, and so you've got a bad self-selection pool.
But numbers-wise, it's insane to think that would be you'd find someone there. I mean, it's cultural experience, it's lived experiences, it's a lot of different factors that make a soulmate. And if you go into dating and trying to find someone thinking there's a soulmate, like you were saying, you're going to be let down every single time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we'd be lying if you didn't say, lust and physical attraction, all those things are part of it, right? All the little endorphin firing things in the short term.
Of course.
And in the modern age where you're constantly bombarded with Instagram, these kind of things, there's always going to be something that catches your attention. So the point
Facebook
is,
cheating.
What's that?
Just like the older generation, the more like Gen Xers, a lot of infidelity started with options. You had more options. You see
exactly.
You had a lot of different people online. You see your old high school girlfriend on Facebook you're 45, 10 years married, 15 years married, and you're like, hey, what's up? And then that's how it starts. Just options.
Well, didn't know we were going to go there. Let's butch this up after about 10 minutes of Bachelor talk. Let's talk about the NBA draft in Cooper Flagg next on Will Kane Country. Raise your flag, raise the flag, capture the flag, Flag Day in Dallas. Cooper Flagg. It is Will Kane Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Okay, so my wife is listening or watching. She's already texted in. I'm not your soulmate? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark. Yes, you are, sweetie. You are. Forget all of the deep thinking. You absolutely are.
I'm telling my wife to skip this episode.
Because you said the same thing.
Shh.
What's true?
What?
I mean,
What,
love is a
tinfoil?
choice.
Right. Love is a
Yeah.
choice. Yes.
100%.
Dan, why are you messing with my camera? I'm
Because-
the director of this show,
No,
not you.
No, I literally am. So I'm putting you in a center position where you should be. Hey, there we go.
Watch this. Dan does that work, and I can just do this.
God. I'm not going to touch it anymore.
Don't tell her not to watch it
Let's
though,
talk-
because it's too it brings up too many questions.
What does?
Watching
The
all this-
episode? This episode?
Most of the
Yeah.
episodes.
This episode is good for relationships and marriage. Will Kane Country. Hey, let's talk about ESPN. So during a recent WNBA game, I believe the announcers were Pam Ward and Rebecca Lobo, and they're talking about disagreeing with a referee's call. And then Rebecca Lobo says this.
So they disagree with you. They do, and I disagree with them, and that's fine. That's what makes America great, right, Pam Ward? I should rephrase that. Yes. But yeah, I did think opinion are perfectly. Yes, fine. That's a better way to say it. Sorry about that.
Incredible. Incredible. Disagreeing with the ref's call, Rebecca Lobo says, that's what makes America great, followed by 7-8 seconds of silence. I would love to see a camera shot of what their faces look like and what look Pam Ward gave Rebecca Lobo.
Red.
Rebecca Lobo then goes, I should probably rephrase that. Yes, says Pam Ward immediately. Differences of opinion are great. It's really something. You can't say, what was in the world of the far left media, what was the sin? What did she say? She paired the words America and great and make together.
It's too close.
She married those words together.
It was too close.
Too close?
Yeah. I bet they were so afraid of losing their jobs in that moment. Like instantly, that was their first thought. Like, we're gone.
Are you serious?
I bet it's ESPN, of course. Yeah. I bet you we're gonna be fired right away. There's gonna be backlash from the audience, and we're done.
That the audience would hear that and hear "Make America Great Again."
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that's what makes America great. Is like, I don't know, a cliched thing to say for decades, right? That's what makes America great. But that's too close to make America great again, which would be a cardinal sin, according to Pam Ward.
I bet people already think Rebecca Lobo's a Republican after that. I already saw some comments online. I swear to God, I saw people writing that all over the place. Rebecca Lobo confirmed Republican.
I think, and I'm serious, the WNBA is going to commit suicide. It's going to be a thing. And you could say, well, they know who their audience is, so they're going to play to their audience. Okay, so you're not going to expand your audience? Like, what are you doing? You're going after your biggest superstar ever in Caitlin Clark. And you're doing this? What a joke. What a joke of a league. No future. No future for the WNBA if this is the path they pursue. I mean it. You don't have a future. What a joke. A lot of jokes last night during the NBA draft. I think we have this. Yes.
Yep.
I can't remember what draft pick it was. But Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina was drafted by the Toronto Raptors, and ESPN got him. I watched the draft, and I didn't see this. It might have been on an alt broadcast because I was on ESPN, then I found out later it's also on ABC. But I didn't see this, and he wasn't too pleased, apparently, when he was drafted by the Raptors.
The University of South Carolina.
Colin Murray Boyle.
Whoa. He shakes his head and then says the F word. But he says it like, he says it like disappointed looking, right? Like something bad had happened. Now, I don't know if something else happened in that moment, that he could have been referencing.
I have a theory.
But how excited could you be if you're Raptors management? What's your theory, two-a-days?
I mean, he's moving out of the country. He's going to Canada. Who wants to go to Canada right now? We're in America.
You think that's what it was?
I think it might be. I mean, that's a big change. I mean, I know it's the Raptors organization. They're not great. But you're still leaving the country, which is a hard thing to come to terms with.
Throughout the
I've been to
course
Toronto.
of this segment, I heard it's a great city. I've heard great things about Toronto.
Not bad.
I've never been to Canada. I've never been to Montreal. I've never been to Calgary. I've never been to Vancouver. I've never been to Canada. What am I missing? If I need to go to one, what's the one they always say that's the most European city? Is that Montreal? Like you go there and you feel like you're in Europe type
Yes.
thing?
Quebec. I thought it was Quebec, right?
Quebec is mostly French-speaking now. They changed some laws, too. Montreal is metropolitan, almost French.
I need to do that sometime, take a trip to Canada. Throughout the course of this segment, Tinfoil Pat has been broadcasting, as he often does, just electrically with a lot of great things to say. But unfortunately, not only was he muted, but I could see on my screen he couldn't hear. There was a lot of pantomiming going on. I don't even know what's going on now. He can't talk now. I can't hear him right now. So let's what did we miss? What'd you have to say? Hold on.
I don't.
I'm gonna alert the Marconi award ceremony. That's the Oscars for radio.
I just want to clarify that I was not muted. I don't know what's happening. And I don't even know what I was saying.
That was me.
What we were talking about.
You muted him?
I may have muted him. Not for any particular reason, just it was a lapse of memory.
That's it.
That I had the fader down.
The breaking point.
We're in a fight. Are we Israel and Iran? No, sorry, that's bad.
He said it's a breaking point. If I had to nominate somebody in the universe of Will Kane Country to, what was that movie, Falling Down? Was it who was the star of Falling Down? Do you remember that movie? You don't know it?
Yeah,
Tinfoil does, I can tell. Was it Michael Keaton?
It's Michael Keaton, yeah.
Michael Douglas.
Or Michael Douglas, yeah.
Michael Douglas. He's a 9-to-5er. He's a normal guy going about his job, and he just breaks. He breaks. And he's had it. That's like he said, it's a breaking point. And he goes postal. I should rewatch it. I wonder if it holds up, Falling Down.
It holds up. I watched a lot of it recently. It's good.
I nominate you to fall down. The breaking point is
crash out, as the kids say.
As the kids say, crash out, go postal.
Yeah.
Tinfoil Pat. Is everybody as excited as I am about Cooper Flagg in the NBA and Dallas? I'm back, baby. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I did have a hard time with the Luka tributes last night. There was some, reviews of the Dallas Mavericks season. It was hard to see Luka again, but I'm pretty excited about Cooper Flagg. I genuinely mean this. This is the return. I don't think just for Dallas. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be gigantic for the NBA. Now, listen, he doesn't have a gigantic personality off the court. He does on the court. But off the court, he doesn't. But I have to remind myself, and I was watching it with my son last night, he's not even a year older than my son. He's not 18. Right? Isn't Cooper Flagg 17? He'll turn 18 before the start of the NBA season?
I don't think so.
Is he 18? Okay, maybe he's 18.
He turns 19 in December. He was born the year I graduated high school.
Dadgum.
He is 1 year older than my son. That is incredible. So my point is on the big personality, cut him some slack. Like, he turns 19, so he should be right now graduating from high school. Like, right now.
The youngest player from high school to be drafted number 1 since LeBron.
So my wife said she worked with him recently and said he just needs, like, he has one look. You know, that's it. He just has one facial expression.
Blue steel.
Right, but he's 18. Like, your personality, you know, to be dynamic, think about who you were. And I have teenage boys, so I see it. Like, you kind of like, your personality gets kind of smaller when you're in your teen years. You know, you have a personality when you're like 9, 10, 11, and then you go through puberty, and your personality gets smaller, and you get more self-conscious and that kind of thing. And then you get the social confidence beginning again probably in your early 20s, right? So I think you got to cut this kid some grace. And in that way, I think it's actually great that he's a Dallas Maverick, where they already have Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, and that he's not going someplace like, you know, where he's going to be the star, like he would have if he gone to the Washington Wizards. Like, he's going to be the face of everything somewhere else. Here, he still will, but it won't be day in, day out, every night. The conversations will be driven by Kyrie and Anthony Davis, and then sometimes Cooper Flagg, and that's perfect for an 18-year-old.
And on top of all that, he has to play against NBA players. He has to be in the NBA at 18 years old. It's insane.
He is going to be the biggest story in the NBA, a la Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. I mean it. That's not just now homerism. I think it's going to be massive. And in fact, we're going to talk about that more tomorrow on the Kane on Sports edition of Will Kane Country. Make sure you subscribe to that on Apple or Spotify. We've got Bleacher Report's Andy Bailey to break down the X's and O's, the basketball of the NBA draft. That's going to do it for us today. We hope you will see us again next time.